the first thing that you want to do with your squash is cut it in half, and also take off the end pieces such as the top and the bottom. And then we're gonna slice one of the halves in half again. Now I'm gonna cut the squash half into even vertical slices, and then we're gonna flip it around and do the same to make perfect cubes. The smaller they are, the faster they will cook, so keep that in mind when you cube your squash. And we're just going to repeat the same process with every half. Something I really love about squash is that it's really versatile with how you make it or cook it. I personally love to roast it in the oven with some olive oil, salt, and some cinnamon. But if I'm making something that's more savory, then maybe I will not add the cinnamon. I could instead add herbs or cumin or turmeric. You can really mess with the flavor palette of it, which I love. So now we're moving on to cutting the other half of our squash. This half will have seeds, so you can scoop these out of the pit of it, I guess you could say. And I like to roast them in the oven with some olive oil and salt as well. You can top it with salads, you can top it on the curry, anything really. It's really good. And then just cube the rest of the squash once you scoop it out. And I'm just showing you here a different method of how you can cube it, but really up to you how you want to cut the stuff. Just be safe. Okay, so now I'm just cleaning my surface, making sure it's all clean. I'm just showing you the tray. I put a baking sheet down for the squash so it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. And I'm just drizzling on some olive oil, salt, and mixing it all together. And then I didn't show this, but I did add cinnamon. Alright, so moving on to our garlic. I'm just mincing it here. The way that you do that is by kind of making it like a puzzle where you do really thin slices into the garlic and then turn it around and do it underneath in the middle and then cut it. I showed a couple times here, so hopefully that makes sense. And then I'm just roughly chopping it again for one quick ending of that. And then let's move on to our onion. You can use a bigger onion for your risotto if you want. This is the only one I had on hand, so I just used it, but I definitely like adding a lot of onion to risotto, so feel free to add a large onion, not a medium small one. And so we're doing the same process as the garlic in here. We're doing really thin slices, cutting a kind of slit in the middle of it, and then going again and dicing it. And this just is a really quick and easy method. Saves you a lot of time. Also is a lot safer probably than the way that you've been doing it if you haven't been doing it this way. And then we're just gonna heat up a pot with some oil. Once it's getting like warm and hot and bubbling a little bit, then we can add our garlic and onion. Give it a good stir. And if you're not using veggie stock but using veggie bouillon, I'm just putting in a large spoonful of that into the pot right now. And incorporating it into the onion and garlic and just giving it a good mix. Maybe mix it not with a middle spoon, but with a spatula. But yeah, I'm also adding some water just to simmer that a little bit more. We're obviously going to add more water later on. This is just to like really get the aromatics fragrant and release a lot of their flavor. So now I'm just adding in the risotto. I made a really large batch here, so you probably don't need to do as much as I did. I think I ended up doing like 3 or 4 cups because I was making it for a lot of people. But, you know, 1 cup of risotto rice actually goes a really long way, so you probably don't need more than 1 cup of rice. Really adjust the portions based off how much you want though. Also, obviously I'm adding more water here again, giving a lot of mixes, don't want it to burn. Make sure to also check your proportions of water to rice based off how much rice you end up cooking, because it does matter. Alright, so now I'm adding in some lemon juice. Lemon juice is really good in risotto. It gives it this really good acidity to it. Also, we're going to add in some white wine. That is obviously optional if you can't purchase it. but I personally think that white wine tastes amazing in a lot of Italian food, such as pasta and rice and even soups. So I'm gonna add it here. I added honestly a generous amount just because I really do love how it balances out the rice dish, which is a really rich dish. Okay, so for our herb flavoring, I'm adding in fresh rosemary. You could do dried rosemary. I just had a lot in my yard, so I decided to go with fresh. Also, some fresh parsley. Yet again, you can do dried. I just think that fresh herbs are really tasty and bring out the flavor more in the dish. They're also prettier, so up to you. You can also add other herbs such as oregano. I think I even added some dried oregano in this. And we're going to go ahead and also add in nutritional yeast. That also is to taste, you know, not everyone likes it. Some people love it. And this is another optional thing I'm also adding is vegan mozzarella cheese. I normally don't add vegan cheese. I normally don't feel like it needs it, but because I had it on hand, I was like, why not? Let's make it extra cheesy. So that's another fun optional ingredient. And lastly, just adding in our roasted butternut squash. Obviously, it's going to take around 45-50 minutes for your squash to really be roasted. So it might not be ready at this point in your cooking process. That's perfectly fine. I just cooked it ahead of time for the video. And yeah, now we're having it in a bowl. Made it all pretty. Put some extra herbs on top. Put some pepper. Put some salt. Make sure to add a good amount of salt to your dish when you're cooking it. I didn't show it in here, obviously. I didn't show the pepper, but those are just given. And we'll obviously link the recipe again below so you have it and enjoy.